Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I'm Constable Dana McRoy, and I'm here with Staff Sergeant Sarah Rowe, Constable Andy Buck, Constable Brittany McSween, Inspector Avril Martin, and Constable Tad Milmine. Welcome, everyone. All right, we're going to just get started here. I wanted to start with you, Sarah. What does pride mean to you?
Pride takes on many meanings. When we talk about the word pride, there are so many things I could talk about in relation to that. You know, as a member of the LGBTQ plus 2+ community, I reflect on, you know, the fact that my family is free and safe, and that I live in a city that celebrates that, and that I can walk down the street with my family or my wife without fear of violence or oppression, that I can go into a restaurant or travel in this country without any fear of oppression, because there is a lot of history involved. And I know we've chatted a little bit about this, but you know, even up into the 90s when the purge was going on regarding removing police and removing the LGBTQ plus personnel from the military as well as the police was not that long ago. And it is incredible to me that now I don't have to consider those things, that now my children who come from a very diverse background, we're a very diverse family, we can celebrate as a family, and it isn't something that I feel fear in my own community. So I'm very proud about that.
I'm just going to put it over to you, Tad. Can you tell us, expand a little bit? What does pride mean to you?
Well, I think, you know, Sarah said, like accomplishment, achievement, I think is basically what it is. When I think back to before I was openly gay, you know, all those feelings of holding everything in, feeling that society would collapse around me if I were to share, at the time, my biggest secret. But now I freely can be myself. I wear, you know, the pride police, you know, every day on my uniform. I'm out in the public. I think it's just, we've come a long ways, and I think that's something to really take the positive away from. I mean, we're not there, we're not done. There's still a lot of work to be done, but I think we're definitely on the right path, and that's something I'm personally very proud of, because not only have I personally been able to get to the point of being open and proud and accepting of myself, but I feel like society as a whole is also in the same, as even in this line of work. It's you know, being out with the RCMP and now with CPS, it's I think it's quite an achievement. It's something to celebrate.
Awesome. Thank you. And Britt, I'm just going to hand it over to you. Tad had mentioned the RCMP, and you started with the RCMP. You came here as a recent recruit. What brought you here, the pride in coming to Calgary Police Service?
Well, I'm originally from Calgary, so it was always the goal to kind of get back home for me. But starting with the RCMP, I wouldn't have changed it for the world. You know, it's a great organization, but speaking about pride, I was worried about when I joined and what I have to not be out, what I have to suppress who I am, or am I supposed to not tell people? Like, am I just supposed to kind of keep it on the down low? And that was quashed very quickly in the RCMP. And then, you know, I've changed to 3 police services, and each time it kind of goes through my head a little bit still is, do I have to be worried? How is the community going to respond to me? Am I going to be accepted? And that's something that I'm so proud of with not only Sutina Police, they were welcome, like open arms welcoming. And then I came over here and I met all of you, and, you know, there was not, the fear is all gone. So I'm proud to be an out member. I'm proud to be serving my community, the city that I grew up in and that I call home. And I'm hoping that people are seeing this, and they're, you know, if they are scared or fearful of not being accepted, that they know that they've got somebody on their side that's been in that position and is now, you know, I'm happy to say that I'm a proud member of the LGBTQ+ community. And yeah, it takes a long time to get there, but it's worth it, and it's awesome.
And I just want to chip in, if I may, like from the straight ally perspective, because until I held that role, same as you, Di, you know, I was aware of pride parades, but it wasn't something that was part of my life. I I didn't know the history, the context behind it. I knew that it existed. And as you sort of gravitate into that role and you learn about the community and what it means to the community, and you hear firsthand and secondhand and thirdhand that, you know, the horrific stories of, you know, violence and persecution, you realize that it is something to be celebrated, really.
So, well, anything?
Yeah,
You
and
wanna
just to
share?
add to that, Andy, it's so important to acknowledge, right, that you actually don't know the history, right? And we should be apologetic for the oppression and the things that we have done wrong, right? And rectify them authentically. And that's where I think pride resonates with me, is how confident and comfortable are you to be your true self every day? We have to have a platform and a space for you to be able to do that. Wake up with a state of wellness, physical wellness and mental wellness, and you just go and you be you, whether you're you in this uniform, you with your family, you with your friends. Make sure you surround yourself with people that are like champions for you. And so that's what pride means to me, right? Is that platform and that space to really be who you want to be, who you really are inside.
I like that.
Yeah, me too.
That all of you said a lot of good things there, and I'm like, oh, I've reflected, like, what does that mean to me? As Andy said, I'm doing this, came into this role as a job, as an ally to the community. But like you said, Tad, we have a lot of work to do. There's good stories here, but we still have work to do. And how are we showing up? And can I be that voice? So that pride, I wear the rainbow on my vest, or a pin, or rainbow flags at my desk, and I want to show up for people and walk through that door and help them along if I can be that voice for the community and for members here within the service. So that's why I show up to do this job and keep attending.
And I think it's important to just pick up on that word job, because I know you and I pass across many times. For us, it's our work role, but it's never our job. I did it and you do it because it's the right thing to do.
Absolutely.
100%.
But for a member of the community, your support is so important for us, because, you know, I spent the first half of my career, there was no way. My personal business was my personal business. I was too busy raising in my family and focused on the kids and my career. And it wasn't until recently where I was like, you know, I need to create safety and belonging for other members. But I couldn't do this and have the confidence to come to the table without all of you here and all of you supporting, because, you know, at the end of the day, we really want what everybody wants. We just want to be treated with, you know, equality. We want there to be inclusion for all of us at the same space, and that nobody is oppressed, really. And I'm grateful for that. So I'm grateful for all of you.
Thank you.
Helping us.
And sometimes you're not sure if are you making a difference or what impact you may have. And I said, putting this vest on here, and one of the first times I'm in the locker room, and I just had someone I hadn't really had conversations, maybe saw them in passing, but they just said, thank you for wearing that for our community. And I'm like, someone just came out to me in the locker room because they felt safe to. And I've heard a few more of those stories in the service that has happened. So I'm thankful for people that they felt comfortable to do that. So
Well, it's such a little thing that we, like, especially as part of the community, like wearing a little rainbow pin, for me, it's the least that I can do to show the people that I'm working for, like Calgarians and community members, that I am a safe person to talk to. And just that flash of rainbow, like somebody just sees it and they know that, you know, that person wouldn't be wearing it if they weren't an ally or a member of this community or somebody that I feel safe to talk to. So, you know, yeah, I think that it's really important to have the allies and have just the little bits of that pride flash through with the rainbow. And
Well, it speaks to the service as well for allowing us to wear every day who we are. And it doesn't mean something to everyone, but the ones that we really want it to mean, I mean, I see the eyes when they see, they look down, you can just see that they've seen that. In their mind, it's going to process however it will. Maybe they'll just look and be like, it's cool colors. But for someone a part of the community or family members in the community, right away, they're going to know exactly what you're representing and who you are. And I think that's something, it's one of the actions are louder than words. The fact we're allowed to wear this every day out of the year is speaking volumes to the right direction that we're going.
And that then leads into the recruiting side of things, which I'm heavily involved with right now. The fact that, you know, I understand the concerns of community who may be wanting to come into law enforcement as a career, but may be concerned about, you know, that stereotypical alpha male environment, and is it for me, and am I going to be accepted, and can I be my true self? Well, I wear the rainbow, and if that's just a visible initial sign for somebody that, yeah, I can be accepted here, then that's a great thing.
Well, and Andy, I've had the opportunity to sit on some of your interview panels, and we've had members in their interview come out to us. They don't know the history or where we've worked or what we're doing, or sometimes I may have the rainbow patch on, but I'm just impressed that they feel comfortable that they can tell a story in their interview and feel safe to do so.
And doesn't that make you feel good that you're able to be that person without actually saying anything?
You know, wearing this every day, like we're allowed to add or are permitted, and it is uniform. This is my uniform that I'm very proud to wear. And in the with the recruits, I can't tell you the impact, like hearing anonymously even that from that members feel safety and belonging. And if I can create that in any member from whatever background by just showing up and being who I am, and they can see this and they can identify in me and see themselves and know that I'm okay, actually I'm great, and that they're going to be okay, that makes it all worth it for me. And I am so proud that the service lets us not only do this, but how many applicants that we're beginning to see, when even normally with gay men, I mean, creating that safety and belonging can be quite a challenge. And it's not for me to doubt somebody's decisions, but how many males have come out to me. It warms my heart. It really does. That they're going to be okay.
Yeah.
And we're going to do great police work. We're going to help the community.
Yeah, the stereotypical white male officer, the only person that can be in this uniform or in this profession is gone. Is a time that's quite over, and we really want to own recruiting from diverse communities.
Yes.
And we want to have candidates that are exceptional. Exceptional in every way, from the Black community, from the Indigenous community, from the Southeast Asian community, from the LGBTQ community. Bring your best, because we are the Calgary Police Service, and we want to make sure that you know that you're the best, and we want you to be a part of who we are, right? And so, yeah, it's just conversations like this that propel that narrative, right?
Yeah.
That this is a safe space.
Absolutely.
People here at this table are actually being themselves, and they feel comfortable to actually be themselves, and then we can just keep moving that needle forward for our kids when they want to join the police first, right? And then on we go. So, yeah.
And we've talked about
I love it.
how long we've all been police officers here, and what has changed since I first started 13 plus years ago. And you can said open, or are you open? And I can say probably in the 13 plus years when I first came out, I don't know if I could name off my hand an open gay male in the service. We knew there were some here, or some told you, but that has changed. And when I go into a recruit class and there's 2 to 3 open out LGBTQ2S community members in the class, and they want to have conversations, they tell me a story, but they tell their classmates, and that's what I like seeing. Can anyone reflect on that? What's changed in the police service from when you joined Calgary or started policing in another service?
Well, so much has changed.
You spoke earlier about the purge in the 90s,
Right.
where, you know, anyone that was out or even suspected of being a part of the community were being removed from government positions, police positions. And now here we are, very happily, proudly wearing Pride year-round. It's not even just for Pride Month. We're wearing it, supporting it, showing, representing every day. So when I said at the start, there's so much to celebrate, we still have more work to do, I think that's one of those positives, that every day we're representing, and we may not change the world, but if we can change one person's world or change their way of thinking or understanding, and it's not a white man's profession any longer, we are going the right way, and I think that's something really to celebrate, and hopefully others start to see it and they start to join. It's as you mentioned from the classes, you know, there's more and more, and that's great, because I understand where that fear is coming from, because I had that very same fear. We all have different lived experiences. It's not to take away anyone else's lived experience. They may still be fearful based on their life experiences about, I can't join the police, I'm gay, I'm not willing to go public or to share that. But I can say from my experience, it is not what I expected at all, kind of what you said earlier, Britt. It's not what I was prepared for, but that's about society too. It's, I mean, I held my dark secret until I was 25 years old, and yet I knew all along, but I thought the world was going to come crumbling down. It's, I've been very fortunate in my lived experience. I haven't had any negative experiences. That's, I've been very fortunate that way, and that's something, again, to take the positive away from.
Well, and just having the courage to come to the table here and have this conversation today.
All of us. Yeah. And many more. We only have we
So
only have
much
so much
space
room at
to
this
get.
table.
There's many more out there.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what I think I say to people I work with in the community. It's showing up, your actions, and coming to the table, right? I'm here, and I'll listen, and I'll do my part that I can do. It seemed like a few of you had some responses to that. Anyone want to kind of share or build on that?
I just think our members, sworn, civilian, are just self-reflecting and changing behaviors. And if I've done something wrong at this stage of my life or something that was questionable, how can I do it better moving forward? I just see that a lot. I see a lot of self-reflection and acknowledgement and an opportunity to be vulnerable, that I'm not awesome all the time. I do make change. I do make mistakes. I can change. Everybody can make changes towards what's positive, but let's have the confidence to make the conversation real and authentic, right? To actually listen to what people are saying and how it's making people feel. And behaviors, I think, in general, are changing for everybody throughout the membership. Whether it is, the Black Lives Movement, the death of George Floyd, I just think there's just drastic changes, even in a year, right, have happened. But from beginning, when 2002, when I started, to now, I just think we are just more, we're just more open, and we're more accepting, and we're more receptive, and we're just more balanced. And it's an amazing thing to see.
And I agree with that too. When I was the liaison officer around 2014, as you know, Di, the role involved meeting a lot of community members, and I distinctly remember being at a number of events downtown, speaking to people at various organizations, and they would always talk about their employee resource group. So I found out a little bit more about it, and we didn't have one in 2014. We didn't have anything for our internal members. So it was me thinking maybe we ought to. So I canvassed a few community members within the service, and the consensus was it would be a good idea. So we went about creating one, and it wasn't plain sailing. We met some middle management resistance, but rather than give up, we instigated it as a grassroots level, did it grassroots up instead of top down. So, for anybody out there that's looking at this and wondering, is there support for me? Absolutely. We have an employee resource group that now, just feeding off what you said, Avril, has executive support down. I feel comfortable in saying to anybody that if you have an issue or a concern, then bring it forward. Life being what it is, you might not always necessarily get the answer you want to hear, but I feel confident that from the chief down, you're going to be listened to, you're going to be heard, and appropriate action will be taken where necessary.
So I just want to really make sure that, for one, thank you very much for recognizing that there was something missing, and you took that upon yourself, being an ally to our community. But I think what you did also goes to a bigger picture for people to understand, is that it's really easy to sit back and wait for society to change and be like, well, the police should do it, the government should do it. In this case, the chief's office should do it. But what you did is you recognize that, well, we don't actually have to wait for other people to make positive change. It starts with us. There was no reason why we had to wait for anyone else. You are like, hey, do you want to join? Do you want to join? Do you want to join? Okay, let's have coffee and donuts. That's as simple as it was. If you
absolutely.
want to make a positive change in the world, then do it. It's don't wait for other people, otherwise we're just going to spiral out of control and negativity. Let's
it's-
make that positive change.
And it's important to know that's all strictly confidential. Even though I work in the position, if there's a answer I'm looking for, a question, or I want feedback, I send yourself, Justin Hansen, a message, and you put it out there, and you give me some feedback. But I don't know who says what, and I don't need to, right? So if there's anything that we need to do from the diversity resource team or as a service, it goes that way.
And I'm glad that you mentioned that about that anonymity, because we BCC everybody on the email circulation list, because not everybody wants it to be broadcast. If they're looking at an email and in their workspace and somebody's walking behind, they might not want everybody to know. So total confidentiality, but we're active, we're there, we're available.
It's very respectful.
Yeah, but it's so easy, Doing the right thing doesn't have to be difficult, right?
We
Absolutely.
tend to make it difficult.
Yeah.
I've always valued
Yeah.
the emails I've gotten from the employee resource group, because I know that whoever is sending it is sending this email to me really wants to tell me something, and I should really be listening. And so when I have received them, I've always been, this is fantastic. There's always something for me to learn from it, or to create more positive momentum.
I'm just going to go over to you, Avril. Can you tell us a little bit about the Anti-Racism Action Committee?
Yes, absolutely. So I mentioned before that we started the committee December of last year. We have formed 2 committees. So the External Anti-Racism Action Committee was formed in February of this year, and it consisted of 15 Calgarians from diverse communities and an amazing group of people. And our goal with the external ARAC is really to look at our policies and our procedures, and make sure that there's no blind spots that we're missing that privilege some or disadvantage others, and make sure that we are looking at there's no barriers to accessing us, the CPS, whether that's language barriers or any systems that are affecting just accessing us. And so that committee is a great foundation for us to make sure that we are moving the needle towards being an anti-racist organization, and equitable and inclusive. And so we meet monthly. We have had amazing conversations. Thin Blue Line, our professional standards section, information posts, just to name a few, just to make sure that anti-racist lens is weaved into our everyday workflow. And so a great group of people with some great work and some great suggestions, and a very inclusive group. So it's been an honor actually to be a part of that group, and I'm looking forward to the latter half of our term together. Secondly, we have an internal Anti-Racism Action Committee, and that's a group of 60 plus. We just had a meeting today with Sarah, and it was a great meeting today.
Yeah,
it was just really good.
Lots of learning.
Lots of learning, and I love learning, right? So, lots of conversations around, racial trauma and anti-racism concepts and definitions. And we looked at unconscious bias and implicit bias, and how do we get towards being culturally competent and culturally aware. So things like that is what we discuss on an everyday level, and we want to make sure that the things that we look at and the lens that we look at it is through that equity, diversity, and inclusion lens as well, right? It's
Intersectional.
right? Something we do together. Yes, we have to focus on certain things a little bit laser focused, but at the end of the day, this organization has to understand that equity is what we're striving for. Anti-racism is the way that we're going to get to equity and diversity and inclusion. And I think these two groups that we put together so far have been amazing, and they're going to help this organization move forward to that anti-racism righteousness, right? Yeah.
And you talked about working together, and as Tad said, we need to do more work. Who does this work all fall on? Because we're all from different work areas.
Yeah.
We're all here at the table. Is this something that we need to strive for in all areas, and we all need to work together?
Everybody.
Everybody.
Not one bureau, not one deputy, not one, not one chief, right? It's all of us. Everybody in this membership has to understand where we're going together, where we're going with inclusion, and where we're going with anti-racism, where we're going with all of our work. And we've done a lot of work so far, really, even since the notice of motion has gone out. We've actually taken an anti-racism and equity, diversity, and inclusion lens, and we've layered it throughout so many programs and areas, and we've either validated that we are moving in the right needle, or we've made the changes that we need to get to the right area. So yeah, it's not just one bureau. There's a whole bunch of business units that are already doing amazing work in this field.
Well, as Andy mentioned, it may start with recruiting, and then
Yeah.
they land in your area.
Yes, they land in training, and being part of the internal group, I really enjoy it because the conversations are very meaningful, because we're creating a space that is very inclusive to have dialogue about things that can be difficult. And I can't imagine, 15, 20 years ago that we were having a conversation, around racial trauma or inclusion, and what does that mean, or intersectionality. How do we help oppressed groups who have experienced prejudice or racism or haven't been afforded the opportunities? I get to work for an employer, the Calgary Police, that allows me to have these conversations with this diverse group. That doesn't mean it's always going to be pretty. It's going to be hard at times, but I'm always amazed and think, okay, what accountability do I take in this? What role do I play? How can I help? How am I supporting Avril in the work, the anti-racism work? And then how am I helping show the recruiting unit, how are we recruiting the best of the best, like we talk about, and representing our community? And then in the learning with the recruits, how am I taking account and showing up and being a leader and showing them courage, right? And being vulnerable, right? But I think it's so important. And it just, I look forward to our monthly meetings.
Yeah. Yeah, and you're right. We don't always see eye to eye.
No,
on a lot.
not
And we
going
don't
to,
have to.
though.
I mean, we don't.
That's okay.
And we don't
Yeah.
need to. We're totally good with it. But I can guarantee that the dialogue is respectful. All of the members, sworn civilian, from diverse communities, racialized, respectful in listening to learn, and we do that, I think, at these meetings. And so that, even in and of itself, to me, is such a positive step for this service.
totally.
And I think one of the great things about these committees, and we've had multiple committees, various committees for various reasons for so many years, is that it's not just internal. It's not just police officers sitting down talking to police officers. It's community members coming in. We're blocking out the noise and hearing what people in the community have to say. And it's there's so much more than what gets put out on social media or the clips in the news. It's we're able to listen and hear, and I think those are the two biggest parts, is that it's community based. It's the community has a say. They can come meet with us anytime, whether it's young or old or elders. I mean, we have everything. So I think it's great that we are starting to listen, and many years ago it would have just been police. We would have said no.
Yeah,
the community does
out.
not know better. It's only us, and it's almost a reversal now, which is wonderful.
And absolutely, I started it with recruiting with Andy, but it actually goes back, like, Britt, you're working frontline and working in the district. You come in contact with people on a day-to-day basis. And Tad, you're in the high school. I've been to your high school. I've been to the GSA. I've been to events there. It starts there. It might be a conversation you have in your office or outside, or one that I called. Do either of you want to kind of speak or relate to that? What the impact you might have on someone?
Well, for
you're
me in
dealing
a
with?
school, it's actually quite simple. It's a lot of listening, a tremendous amount of listening, and I make it very clear to youth, I am not here to change your mind. You're a young person. It's up to you to make your decisions and form opinions. What I do is I just offer a perspective. Oftentimes it's a perspective that no one has had the chance to understand, because a lot of police work is not public. It's, cops wasn't really reflective of what we really do. What the media posts isn't always reflective of the whole story of what goes on and how much work goes into the behind the scenes, the listening, the investigative steps. So if I get to share that with someone, and again, allowing them to form their own opinions, I just offer a perspective, then I think it's wonderful, because you can see their little minds, in this case the high school, their young minds are just absorbing and soaking, and just leave it with my doors open, come in anytime, or reach out after hours. I mean, I'm always available on social media to anyone. Just send me a message anytime, and I think it's just such an incredible profession to be in.
And I know the impact you've had on people, because I can't, I go to an event and I'll hear your name, or what's Tad doing? How's Tad doing? How's Andy doing? So that impact you've had in a positive way on community and members of the public. And do you want anything that you want to share from recent?
Yeah, it's hard for frontline. Nobody ever calls us on a good day. I don't really ever get to see anybody when they're, at school and free to have conversations, and it's hard to have that limited interaction. But I think the important part is knowing and recognizing that we're not seeing people on a good day, and that it's so important for these people to have that confidence in their police service, because they're calling us for help. They need us there at that given moment. And that interaction, I might not remember it, but they might, and it might be a very pivotal interaction for them. So whether it's a member of the LGBT community who is in a vulnerable situation, or it's just a member of a Calgarian, a member of the community who needs our help. It's just that basis of frontline policing, and going in there, doing your best, treating people with respect, and then hoping that you have a positive interaction, so that the hard moment that they're going through, you don't make it worse. You need to try to make it better, because I think that's why a lot of us joined policing. I know it's why I did it, because I wanted to help people, as cliche as it sounds, but it's important to have that. And
Or being a police officer is the actions instead of just the words.
Yeah.
Instead of saying, I want to make the world a better place. I mean, it's easy to be like, well, I wish that person wasn't speeding on the road, or I wish that person didn't cause harm to others. Well, as a police officer, you can actually do something about it. So as an individual, we've all made those decisions of, I'm willing to sacrifice a good part of myself in order to help somebody else, and they may not know it's help at the time. Maybe in their lifetime it will never transpire into being help, but we know that based on our lived experiences, our policies, laws, society norms, that we're at least, like you said, trying our best, and that's all I think anyone can ever expect of us.
And living, like we're saying here, living openly and being that reflection of the community. And I feel so fortunate that I'm able to be in an organization that lets me be open and be a gay member of the police force. So I think that, the members of the public being able to see that and know that, it's possible. There's people like me out there, young people are seeing it. If you're questioning, or if you're in the closet, or you're scared, like having the police force, that's what we teach kids, that they're there to help. And living our truth and being able to be open and free in that, it's a very fortunate position to be in.
Awesome. I just wanted to hand over to Sarah here. Why would you think it's important for us to reflect the community?
Oh boy, that is a loaded question, Di. It is so important, just like it's just as important when I stand up in front of a recruit class that they can reflect in me. I am representative of the community. We are policing, if we go back and, quote basic policing principles, of that we are the public are the police, and that in order for us to make real action and change and have meaningful interactions in our community, we have to be reflective of our community. How else will we be able to understand and bring lived experience and create those meaningful connections and help them? We won't understand. It creates, without bridging that and reflecting our community and creating that interconnectedness with our community, will never be effective. So it isn't enough for us to just not do anything. We need to be actively engaged with the community in seeking opportunities to find ways that we can be reflective of our community. And when we do that and we achieve that, ultimately, then I believe we are serving the community and giving them the service that they deserve. I believe we're making inroads in certain communities. Not every community, it's with different cultural backgrounds. Of course, it's not a celebrated profession for many fathers or mothers for their children, but you know, there is inroads being made in certain communities, and we are bridging that, and we're providing positive role models like everybody here at the table. And this has to be a priority because, you know, public safety is number one for us, and you know, serving our community and ensuring they're safe and providing the best workforce and police force out there that we can, and we need to strive towards that in order to be able to meet the community and do the best we can every day.
I think from a diversity perspective and a recruiting perspective, that's something that, you know, you and your colleagues, me when I was in diversity and now in recruiting, that's what we've always done, is tried to promote policing as a viable career option to these diverse communities. And yeah, there are lots of barriers as to why people won't apply. But for us, it's a goal to increase outreach, to promote that positive message, and to get people to at least make that application. I think it's also important to let people know that, contrary to some myth, there are no changing of standards for these community members. You know, once people submit their application, they're held to the same standard, tested the same way as anybody else. Yeah. But it's creating that opportunity for them to get in the door and to undertake testing. So no changing of standards. Yeah. If you apply and you're good, then the chances are you're going to get hired. So.
Well, as we wrap up here, is there any last final thoughts here from anyone? One
thing that I forgot to mention when we were talking about the employee resource group is that it's important for people internally and externally to know that it's not the gay club. You know, we do have allies as part of the email circulation, and that's a goal of Justin and I for this coming year and beyond, is to increase the ally membership. And in all reality, if we're wearing the uniform, then we should be an ally anyway. But yeah, that opportunity to increase visibility, increase membership, and increase sense of safety within the organization. So I think that's a good thing.
You know, as a service, we do an incredible amount of work with various community members and community groups. But at the end of the day, they are groups. They're representatives of their communities. It's as individual members, when we're out there, we have to remember that every single interaction is a human being that we're dealing with. So we may have a very good relationship with, for instance, a particular community group, but that doesn't mean that we're successful with their entire community. It means that we've done well with that group, maybe some roundtable conversations and actions, but they're representatives of their community. We still need to make sure we're there. So no matter how great of a relationship we may have with the LGBT community that we're dealing with, we still have all the individuals in the community that we have the everyday interactions with. So like Andy just said, that wearing the uniform should, in a perfect world, mean that we're supportive of everybody, of every individual out there. And we know as human beings, that's not the case. And it's not just us, it's actually society as a whole. There are people that we're not there. And so we have a lot of work to do. And I think that kind of brings us right back to the start of, we've made huge positive steps, but that doesn't mean we take the foot off the gas. We keep trying to be the representatives of our service, of our community, and hope that every day, at every interaction, we can leave with something positive.
Let's keep doing things like this. Things like this actually bridge the gap between perceptions, right, of what the community thinks the police are and what maybe some of our membership thinks the community is thinking. And conversations like this just really bring to the forefront that this is a great organization with amazing people from all different backgrounds. And that at the end of the day, we're going to be there to help you in crisis, and we're going to try to be empathetic to you when you're in crisis, and we're going to try to get you some resources that you need to get you out of that crisis, no matter what community right? You
Absolutely.
identify with. And so conversations like this are going to help move that needle that way.
And that's what I've seen. I've seen the compassion in my work area. We've been on the floor, the compassion that officers have
Yeah.
for individuals. I see it. I
Yeah.
see it firsthand. And, that's what keeps me coming here as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have great pride. You know, as a duty staff, we would have the ability to see directly and be involved directly with frontline policing, and as an incident commander, and the compassion that we see in even handling victims or someone in a mental health crisis or someone from a diverse community, a racialized community. You know, we have a front row seat in people's worst day of their lives and tragedy. But the work that I'm seeing, the front line, the compassion and empathy that we're seeing, it really does make me quite proud. And I look forward to more conversations like that and inviting more members of our front line in and sharing their stories, because this is how we create that meaningful, that interconnectedness, right? We create safety and belonging, and then we can have interconnectedness. And that's how we create, the best and strongest us together.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Good. I can't thank you all enough for taking time out of your day, some of you on your day off and some rushing from one meeting to the next and coming here to the table. And I hope that someday we can grow this table larger. We can have more people coming here. I'm here to keep coming to the table. And I think at the end of the day, I just want to be treated with respect, and I want to show that respect to others, whether that's my coworkers or my community member or all my colleagues. And it doesn't just rely on one person. We have emails shared, all of you, and text messages with Britt already, right? Seeing you earlier today. So I know my path crossed with all of you and many more in the service that are all trying to do this great work, and we'll get there. We still have a ways to go, but we're working on it.
Thank you.
Thank
It's
you.
been great. Thanks.